This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Tuesday. Apparently, I had Giuliani misspelled in the title. It may be corrected, it may not be corrected, who knows? Do we even care? We may scrap all the plans for the entire show anyway. We've got the House of Representatives over here voting possibly on a bill to fund the government, or possibly not. Clinically, good evening. You don't care about funding the government, or you don't care about Giuliani? Forks may fly on the floor of the House of Representatives. I've got the live shot over here. I got your immigration minister is on the thumbnail tonight. Suella Braverman sticking her foot in her mouth yet again. Overshadowed by the Speaker of the House in Canada, who has now resigned over the praising of a Nazi over the weekend. Another night of just the wildest goddamn bullshit the internet has to offer. Dude, House of Representatives dude up in Canada dressed like a pilgrim drag queen or some shit. I don't even know what that outfit is. He should be embarrassed to wear it in public. Unless he's a pilgrim drag queen, because then we're not going to shame him for that. Tones, good evening. You're gonna come back into some bullshit. No matter when it is in the stream, it's bound to be bullshit. Russell Brand needs your money. Oh man, they put my woman away for life. We're going to hear about Taylor shit business. That's what the uncle of the victim in the Taylor shit business disembodiment case. Oh, why am I laughing? Called her Taylor shit business. The husband in the daycare murder where the kids got a hold of some fentanyl. The husband has been arrested. The wife and the co-conspirator arrested last week. Husband been on the run since. Arrested earlier today. We're going to hear from the family of an Atlanta inmate who died in custody in the Fulton County Jail. The jail where our former president may spend some time. He's been there for a few minutes thus far. May be there for a lot longer duration. The family of an inmate who died in the jail, they are going to tell us about the autopsy they had conducted. We give you your meme of the day. Wait, he's the hero? Always has been. C-SPAN, what do you want C-SPAN for? You want the floor of the House? Are you wanting to take it to the floor of the House of Representatives? I've had to change the start of the show tonight multiple times because of breaking news. The Senate has voted to advance a short-term funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. The Senate has put forward a short-term funding bill. The House is not voting on that yet. We might get a vote on that tonight. That's what we're keeping an eye on. PP Girl, good evening. The Senate voted on Tuesday to advance a short-term funding measure to avoid a government shutdown at the end of the week. The Senate voted 77-19 to advance the legislative vehicle they will use for a continuing resolution funding the government until November 17th. The vote puts the Senate on a path to pass a continuing resolution later this week that it could then send to the House to avoid a shutdown on October 1st. The House has been stuck on how to move forward with funding the government amid disputes among Republicans in the majority. It seems like there's something. Chip Roy is all up in arms already. If you want to go to the floor of the House, apparently this is not the bill. The Senate bill is not what they're going to be voting on. I don't even know what this vote is about. Richard, good evening. You can see Chip Roy very animated there in the front. I don't even know what this vote is about. This is on ordering the previous question. So who fucking knows? Richard, I don't know. I don't exactly know how that works. This was a bill that's going to come from the Senate, but then would have the continuing resolution for the budget attached to it, is my understanding. I believe it had something to do with funding the FAA. The Britad, good evening. Welcome. Voting ended 10 minutes ago. More like 7 minutes ago. It ended like right as we were coming on. Here you see Marjorie Taylor Greene. Matt Gaetz walked by. Scribbled something on a post-it note. Once again, this is what's going on presently on the floor of the House. I don't even know what this vote is about. PBS saying this is a possibility that they take a vote on some form of a budget tonight. Remember, we are 4 days away from a shutdown, midnight on Saturday night. Tomorrow night is the second Republican presidential primary debate happening on Fox Business Channel, Univision, and Rumble. We're going to stream it. The event already listed on the YouTube. We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be on YouTube and Kick tomorrow night for the second Republican presidential primary debate. We got a little bit of a preview we're going to do here in a little bit. Show you who made the cut. I believe Bergram actually made the cut. I think Asa Hutchinson is out. Once again, I don't even know what this is. This is on ordering the previous question. I don't know what the previous question is. PBS saying this could lead to a vote on a budget. The Miz have it. Meh. Marjorie Taylor Greene with a terrifying smile. That's the stuff nightmares are made of. But don't worry, we will be covering Joe Biden on the picket line earlier today. Trump going to a non-union shop for his photo op tomorrow in lieu of appearing at the second GOP presidential primary debate happening tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We're going to come on just like usual at 8 o'clock. We'll do a little bit of news, find out what that news be doing. Then we'll head on over to Rumble to stream the second Republican presidential primary debate. As I said, I got a little preview. We're going to watch here in just a second, tell you who made the cut. The gavel has been banged. Some dude just walked by and punched Marjorie Taylor Greene in the... jovially. Punched her in the shoulder.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 209. The previous question is ordered. Question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no.
Oh.
Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. Sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic.
So we had to vote on to take a vote.
5-minute vote.
Had to vote on a vote to take a vote. Hillary Clinton unveiled her portrait at the White House. I think it was at the White House. Maybe it was at the State Department, where she was Secretary of State. Took some shots at Donald Trump. Alabama got a smackdown by the Supreme Court. They have been belligerent about redrawing their congressional maps to actually give black voters a proportional representation in the state. The Supreme Court smacks down Alabama. Meanwhile, Ron DeSantis facing a similar lawsuit for disenfranchising black voters in Florida. The government has filed an antitrust suit against Amazon, and I'm here for it. Video shown in Russia. Remember we talked about the Black Sea fleet that was attacked? We talked about this last night. The commander hadn't been paid, so he sold intel. And then the Black Sea fleet got attacked and an admiral apparently died. No. They have weekend at Bernie's, this motherfucker. Showed him on camera to prove that he didn't die in the missile blast. You can't make this shit up. The news is crazy. But that's why we be doing this shit over here. Make Hollywood manly again. Kevin Sorbo on a quest to make Hollywood manly again. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Welcome. Good evening. John, my friend. Anybody else sneak in here on me? Richard, did I tell you good evening? Good evening, my friend. We don't even really know what this is. PBS saying that we may get a vote on a spending bill. But they were just voting on whether to take a vote. Low testosterone Kevin Sorbo. That's exactly right. Some of you may have not seen the meme of the day, so we should probably do that. Wait, he's the hero? Always has been. The bill passed by the Senate earlier tonight. Simp, good evening. The bill passed by the Senate earlier tonight funds the government until November 17th. So that is what we are looking for with a continuing resolution right now to fund the government for like another month and a half. Not high enough for this shit. Good evening. Welcome. As I said, had to change the story that we were starting with tonight multiple times because of breaking news. So we started off with government funding in the passage of that bill.
All right, now to a developing story.
Here's another story breaking in the last couple of hours. Donald Trump apparently lost in court. A judge has ruled that Trump defrauded banks and insurers.
All right, now to a developing story into our newsroom. A judge has ruled that Donald Trump committed fraud for years while building the real estate empire that catapulted him to fame. The ruling in the civil lawsuit brought by the New York Attorney General is part of the case's summary judgment. It finds that Trump and his company deceived banks and insurers by massively overvaluing his assets and exaggerating his net worth on paperwork used to make real estate deals and secure financing. The non-jury trial in this case officially starts on October 2nd. There are still other claims that will be resolved once that starts.
So it hasn't even started and he already lost. That's how big of a loser Donald Trump is. Trial hasn't even started and the motherfucker lost. But apparently everything's falling apart for this presidential candidate in 2024. Joe Biden, everything is falling apart. According to Greg Gutfeld, the machine is turning on Joe Biden.
Occasionally, reason to dump the big guy in 2024. President Biden getting absolutely clobbered by another batch of bad polls that even have his staunchest allies saying it's time to retire, Joe. Former President Donald Trump is trouncing Joe Biden in a head-to-head matchup by a whopping 10 points. And an NBC poll is giving Biden his highest disapproval rating of his presidency. 56% say they disapprove. And that's just the start.
Corn Pop's revenge.
So really an uphill battle to try to make sure voters don't stay home if you're Democrats.
Yeah, that's it. And the problem for Democrats, too, the lack of enthusiasm about the election. We asked primary voters on the Democratic side, do you want options next year besides Biden? 59% said yes, they do. This is not a normal number for an incumbent.
Democrats and the liberal media are doing their best to spin this mess.
I'm a little tired of it. I'm a little tired of.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't play Morning Joe.
Get crushed.
Whatever caveats, whether that is an outlier, that's a tough one to spin. What do you say to the 44%?
This is always the way it is when there's a Democratic incumbent. I remember there were naysayers about Obama in 2012. Oh, it's going to be closer than people think. Oh, he's got an uphill battle. No, he cruised the re-election. They've got the media has got to make a story out of something, especially Fox News. They're giving red meat to their viewers.
Of Americans who say they are worse off now than they were before Biden took office.
We're also getting extraordinary results. More than 13 million jobs created. That's more than any presidential term in American history. And yes, it takes a while for people to feel the full benefits of those results.
You know, I got to tell you, first, Buttigieg saying 13 million, Sandra, aren't most of those from the pandemic that came back? 10 million of them?
I don't even know which part to react to more. But by the way, AOC now is saying that this is an economy in crisis. Sorry, are you asking me a question?
Okay. Are the Dems kidding?
How many did they have to drink before this show got started?
An outlier. But I think 4 months ago, the last Washington Post poll.
Are you asking me a question?
And now 4 months later, they've got them up 10. Why are they calling these polls outliers?
I don't know. I don't know anything. They're touting Bidenomics as a success when people all over the country don't feel good about their finances. But Martha Raddatz left out one word in that. It was 44% of Americans believe they are worse off financially under this administration. It's the economy, stupid. It's coming back to that. You want to call a contractor or plumber or a carpenter? People aren't going to work right now.
Cool. What are Republicans' plans to deal with that? Fucking nothing. Let's cut taxes on rich people.
Representing the actual labor market in this country right now, then people aren't feeling it, and that's the way they're going to vote. I mentioned AOC. She's calling this economy in crisis. She says that her party is looking at the economy on paper, and that is a problem. Bidenomics, by the way, the Wall Street Journal came up with that as a reference to Biden's policies on the economy, picking and choosing winners by the government, and that has failed in this administration. So owning a description for the economy that is not working is not going to work. I just want to finish off with this. Housing affordability.
Yeah, their friends are doing great in the economy right now.
Who's looking for a home or looking to sell a home?
Who is this woman?
Feeling this right now. Housing affordability, without getting into the actual numbers, the index has halved since 2020. That is something everyday Americans feel right now, and they're being told they shouldn't feel that way.
You know, Jesse, the economy, 75% of Americans don't think that Biden's doing a good job.
We're getting lectured on the economy by a bunch of millionaires on Fox News.
In him. 74% think his age is a problem. I mean, you didn't even need this poll to match up Trump against Biden, and yet they're like totalitarians.
How old are you, Judge Janine? I know you should never ask a woman her age, but I assume you're close to Biden's age, aren't you?
They're like, he's our guy.
Well, because they're stuck with him. Because Kamala's backup. That means they has to be Joe Biden or nobody else. And this was a message from Bezos. This is the Washington Post poll. Remember, Ignatius dropped the first article about how he should resign. That was a CIA nudge. This
What
is
the
Bezos,
fuck are they even
Bezos is
talking
about to get
about?
smacked with an antitrust lawsuit. Biden is going after their monopoly, and that's about to be dropped, I think, this week. And then Biden sided with the
later. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
All those Amazon workers. He actually stuck his neck out there, and so he's angry. And inflation's killing Amazon because they have to have all these delivery trucks use gasoline, and they're driving all over the place, and stuff's more expensive. So if you look at the poll, it's not just Biden's getting slaughtered. It's Trump's doing much better. And if you compare how people look
It's fucking amazing to me. That's what I really wanted to do, is go on a rant about how the polls are legitimately showing Biden and Trump neck and neck. I know they're making a lot of light about the poll showing Trump winning by 10 points. That's fucking insane. It has to be an outlier. But the polls are genuinely showing them neck and neck, and I just do not understand that. What the fuck? Trump, the incompetent, criminal, fucking con man. We've all seen through him. We all saw what it was like when he was president. They love to point to what the economy was doing in 2017 and early in 2018 and be like, that's the best economy ever. Fucking Trump didn't do any of that shit. What the fuck are you talking? Trump wrecked the economy. Just like every Republican president in my lifetime has wrecked the economy. That's always an issue with pollsters that they call landlines. Their samples always tend to skew older. It's also people that are likely to answer the telephone are just more likely to skew older. So that's an issue with polling. And also, ever since 2016, the polls have overcounted Republicans. They got bit in 2016, and they have had Republicans overrepresented every year since. To the extent that a president does have an impact on the economy, you don't see it for a couple of years. What a president can do, what a party can do with a spending bill and shit, that shit takes a few years. That's why pointing to the economy under Trump in 2017, 2018, that's not an accurate measurement. All right, so we've got some movement here in the House and whatever the fuck they're voting on.
Of the journal, which the chair will put de novo. The question is on agreeing to the speaker's approval.
De nada.
Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The journal stands approved.
PBS is saying that we could see a spending bill brought to the floor, but so far they've been voting on fucking nonsense.
5 or 6. Tell me when.
See, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, bottom of your screen.
The House will be in order.
Republicans are calling her a terrorist? Isn't the symbol of fascism the U.S. flag?
The House will be in order. Please take your conversations off the floor.
Tell him, Jordan Peterson. Clean your room. Get your house in order.
Does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on H.R. 4368.
You ain't got 5 days.
Include tabular material on the same.
Without objection.
Hey, 4 days until we get a shutdown.
Pursuant to House Resolution 723 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for consideration of H.R. 4368. The Chair appoints the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. Benz, to Committee of the Whole.
The Committee of the Whole.
You live in sexual anarchy?
The Committee of the Whole.
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the consideration of H.R. 4368, which the clerk will report by title.
Where is the whole House?
Bill making appropriations for agriculture, rural development, food and drug administration, and related agencies' programs for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the bill is considered read the first time. General debate shall be confined.
Who's this new Gingrich-looking motherfucker?
Equally divided and controlled by.
Give me fucking deja vu up in here.
Committee on Appropriations or their respective designees. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Harris, and the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Bishop, will each control 30 minutes.
High enough for this shit.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise today to bring the House of Representatives 4368, the Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration, and related agencies fiscal year 2024 appropriations bill. I want to thank the Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Granger and commend her for her leadership in moving this bill and the fiscal 2024 appropriations.
Okay, so these are the individual appropriations bills. They got like 12 of them that they need to vote on.
Member of the Agriculture Subcommittee, Mr. Bishop. I appreciate the conversations he and I have had regarding the bill. While I know we don't agree on everything, we have reached areas of consensus that will keep our ag community strong. As Americans know all too well, our country continues to battle high inflation, driven by the overspending of the last Congress and the Biden administration. The fiscal situation of the United States, in fact, has changed since the Appropriations Committee passed.
That's what I'm wondering, Scott Comet. Are they actually going to go home for break, or are we going to get a last-minute push?
To reach $2 trillion for this fiscal year, doubling.
Yeah, they're voting on the individual appropriations bills that they need to vote on. But I don't think any of them are going to pass. They don't have the votes, apparently. So the hope is that they're going to attach a continuing resolution, something like the FAA funding, and that the House will just pass that continuing resolution that will fund the government, it looks like, until November 17th. November 17th is what they're shooting for. Meanwhile, let's check in with our good friend Rudy Giuliani.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
Remember, we in our saga of Hunter's cock, we learned that Lev Parnas has alerted authorities that the laptop from hell had been tampered with. Hunter Biden is now suing Rudy Giuliani over said laptop.
Let's begin this hour with a lawsuit that's been filed by Hunter Biden against Rudy Giuliani and his former attorney. It alleges they hacked, manipulated, and shared data associated with the president's infamous laptop, his son's infamous laptop.
So let's bring in CBS News reporter Graham Cates to break it all down. Man, Graham,
yeah, that happened.
I don't know how you juggle all of these lawsuits, all of these indictments, but thank goodness you're here. So what can you tell us about this latest filing?
Well, so as Vlad just said, Hunter Biden is accusing Rudy Giuliani and his former attorney, Robert Costello, of hacking data from a copied hard drive that has kind of become really infamous at this point. It was purported to be from Hunter Biden's laptop, although he disputes that. And of course, a lot of this information has been distributed widely. And you might be wondering, Rudy Giuliani is not known as a hacker. What's with that claim? Well, so the idea presented in the lawsuit is that Giuliani
is a hack, though.
Had to put in Hunter Biden's username in order to access the information that was supposedly copied from his laptop. And that itself, using someone else's username to access the data is itself hacking. And then they say that if it was information from his laptop, they say it was manipulated or made to look worse for Hunter Biden.
So I find this really an interesting turn of events because I think thus far, when it comes to Hunter Biden and kind of his legal woes, he's remained relatively silent, more defensive than offensive, maybe did a few interviews to let people know about the struggles that he's had. But now this seems like a shift. Now he's going on the offense.
Sure. The first 2 years after this kind of campaign to kind of hurt him and through him, President Biden, through the information on his laptop, he didn't say much. He didn't do much to combat it. And then earlier this year, his legal team took a much more aggressive approach. They started with just dozens of letters to people on the right side of the aisle saying, either retain your documents, you're at risk of a lawsuit, or cease and desist. And then just earlier this month, he sued the IRS, and he has sued a former Trump aide. And so we're seeing now a really steady stream of lawsuits related to various issues related to him, whether it's his laptop data or his tax problems. And this is something that they signaled they were going to do, and they have been doing aggressively.
Really interesting. Graham Cates, thank you so much.
Rudy ain't got the money to fight that shit. Having to beg Trump to pay for his legal bills in relation to January 6th. I got this clip of an Australian. This is on Sky News. They apparently are a far right outlet, and this is kind of funny the way they announced Hunter Biden suing Rudy Giuliani.
There's breaking news from the USA where Hunter Biden is taking legal action against the former New York Mayor Liz.
This is hilarious.
This is the outlet owned by Rupert Murdoch, right? That's why they're it's not far right. Is that what you're saying? No, it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, isn't it? Yeah. That's what I thought. Tell me it's not far right, motherfucker.
Biden is taking legal action against the former New York Mayor Liz.
This is hilarious. Like, it wasn't funny enough that he's suing his dad's own government, saying, oh, they showed too much of my tax information.
Now he's suing Rudy Giuliani and his other defendant, Robert Costello, claiming that these two, you will remember, are the ones that claim his laptop, that infamous laptop, was given to him by a repair technician, workman guy who was working on the laptop and then just gave it to Rudy Giuliani. Well, now Hunter's claiming that not only did they take it, but they hacked into it and messed with the contents. So all those terrible photos that you've seen of him taking drugs and with hookers, etc., and so on, some of it too unsavory to mention on this show, it's been tampered with.
You live in sexual anarchy?
No, I think the hookers and the crack smoking were real. I think the note that said the big guy wasn't real. I think any supposed financial disclosures aren't real. I do not doubt that Rudy Giuliani tampered with the laptop.
So here he is in his latest attempt to prove that he's actually totally fine. None of it's true.
So apparently the Murdochs did sell their stake in Sky Media. They had a 33% stake that they sold in 2018 to Comcast, which is still a conservative media outlet. But it is true that Biden's getting some bad poll numbers, and I don't know, what to do about that.
Come on, man.
New polls show low marks for President Joe Biden. This as Democrats are raising concerns over his electability for a second term. National correspondent Janae Bowens has a deeper look at the findings.
New polls signal trouble for President Joe Biden.
There's just this sort of skepticism of Biden based on this sort of, I think, thought that, he's basically too old to do the job. And that's expressed repeatedly in polls.
Two new polls show President Biden's disapproval rating hitting a new high of 56%. 3/4 of voters in both an NBC News poll and a Washington Post ABC News poll say his age is a key issue. And many are unhappy with his handling of the economy. Only 37% approve in the NBC poll, and 44% in the Washington Post ABC poll say they're worse off financially under Biden's presidency. That's the most for any president since 1986.
You hear all of this great news, and then you go into the grocery store and you're still in the aisle where they sell the vegetables and the fruit. You haven't even turned around to the meat, and already you've spent $70.
The president's allies are sticking by his side.
I think he is the strongest candidate, and I believe very strongly that the American people believe that as well.
But the president's recent flub while speaking at a Congressional Black Caucus event this weekend isn't helping.
LLJ Cool J.
LLJ Cool J.
Man's got biceps bigger than my thighs.
The president earned the Donkey of the Day on the hip-hop morning show, The Breakfast Club.
Joe Biden should not need a teleprompter to know there's not two J's in LL Cool J.
This highlights the waning enthusiasm amongst younger voters, blacks, and Latinos for the upcoming election, all key demographics for Democrats.
Biden's approval rating is bad, but it was also bad during the midterms last year. And that was an election where the Democrats, did okay.
Now, experts tell me polls...
They didn't do okay. They outperformed all expectations.
The entire story, but as voters express concerns with both Biden and former President Trump, expect
LLJ Cool J
if they face each other again. Amira.
Yeah, Janae, age a big topic here. What did these two polls reveal, if anything, about former President Trump?
Right, so that NBC News poll shows 62% of voters have either major or moderate concerns about Trump facing different criminal and civil trials for alleged wrongdoing, including for trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Amira.
Well, at least they mentioned that.
So much.
I assume that Biden was able to speak clearly and concisely earlier today when he appeared on a picket line. UAW workers. This happened in Illinois. I don't know exactly where. Hold on, I'll find that out. But here you go. This was Joe Biden speaking with Sean Fain earlier today.
When I was a senator since 1973, but I tell you what, first time I've ever done it as a president. Folks, look, one thing is real simple, and to be very brief. The fact of the matter is that you guys, the UAW, you saved the automobile industry back in 2008 and before.
To Michigan.
Made a lot of sacrifices, gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too. Stick with it, because you deserve the significant raise you need and other benefits. Let's get it! Let's get back who we lost, okay? We say them, it's about time them to step up for us. Thank you. Now, there's a guy I know you don't know here, but I brought him along anyway. Sean Fain, you're president.
No, the majority of the clip is Fain speaking, so.
All right, good afternoon, UAW family. Thank you. I want to thank Local 174, home of Walter Reuther. Thank this local leadership and Director Laura Dick.
Pizza and ice cream. Biden loves ice cream.
You're all the reason we're here. This is all about the membership. You know, this site, Willow Run, it holds a historic place in the history of our union and our country. You know, this was part of the arsenal of democracy during World War II. It's where they built the B-24 Liberator bomber. You know, that bomber, they built one of those per hour when they were at their peak. It's what helped us win the war. So today, 80 years later, we find ourselves here again with the arsenal of democracy. It's a different kind of arsenal of democracy, and it's a different kind of war we're fighting. Today, the enemy isn't some foreign country miles away. It's right here in our own area. It's corporate greed. And the weapon we produce to fight that enemy is the liberators, the true liberators. It's the working class people, all of you working your butts off on those lines to deliver great product for our companies. That's right. That's how we're going to defeat these people. That's how we're going to defeat corporate greed, is by standing together. You know, this is a historic moment. The first time in our country's history that a sitting USA president has came out and stood on the picket line. Our president has chose to stand up with workers in our fight for economic and social justice. Thank you.
Good on Biden for letting Fain speak.
Moment in time, you know, just as today, you know, it's about the auto workers who are part of the fabric of the working class of this country. We're the people that make the world run. It's not the billionaire class, not the elite few. It's the working class of the billions of people who have been left behind. That's what this battle's about, changing that. You know what's going to move this? It's not some executive that owns our future. It's us. It's working class people from all walks of life. You know, it's what we decide to do together that's going to change it. It's going to shape the future of this earth and for future generations. And that's the economic reality that corporate executives don't want us to recognize. Yeah. I see these CEOs try to justify a system where they take all the profit and the workers are left to fight for the scraps and live paycheck to paycheck. That's got to end.
Yeah.
They say they deserve all the profit because they say they're different. You know what? They are different. They have different degrees. They have different responsibilities. They have different titles, different positions. You know what? I agree, though. They're different. Let's talk about some of that. These CEOs sit in their offices. They sit in meetings and they make decisions. But we make the product.
It's called the labor theory of value. Have you read it?
But we make it run. The CEOs think the future belongs to them.
Flash, good evening.
Today belongs to the auto workers and the working class. And the difference between them and us is just as our theme song, Solidarity Forever, says. Without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel would turn. That's what's different about working class people. Whether we're
Go Brexit yourselves.
Or running parts distribution centers, whether we're writing movies or performing TV shows, whether we're making coffee at Starbucks, whether it's nursing people back to health.
Yeah, how's that Brexit working out for you, Warlord?
From preschool to college, we do the heavy lifting. We do the real work. Not the CEO, not the executive. And though we don't know it, that's what power is. We have the power. The world is of our making. The economy is of our making. This industry is of our making. And as we've shown, when we withhold our labor, we can unmake it. And as we're going to continue to show, when we win this fight with the big three, we're going to remake it. In this union, the members are the highest authority. In this country, the people are the highest authority. And so today, I just want to take a moment to stand with all of you, with our president, and say thank you to the president. Thank you, Mr. President, for coming. To stand up with us in our generation's defining moment. And we know the president will do right by the working class. And when we do right by the working class, you can leave the rest to us because we're going to take care of this business. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for being a part of this fight. And let's get back to winning solidarity for all of our members and economic and social justice for all of our members.
Heard me say it many times. Wall Street didn't build the country. The middle class built the country. Unions built the middle class. That's a fact. So let's keep going.
A fact, Jack.
What you've earned, and you've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now. Thank you very much.
I mean, he is the most pro-union president. It's just been a very low bar. Dark Brandon in the house. What's it like? He had all of his faculties there. The people that think that Joe Biden has dementia or some shit are the people that only watch the little 20-second clips that right-wing media shares out. Like, oh, look at this Biden gap. I think he fell up the plane stairs again earlier today. I don't know. I didn't click on it. Because of course he did. He's an old fucking man. I fall. I'm 40 years old. And I fucking fall all the time. Okay, so here's another one of my fails right here. Even I got it wrong. I said that Trump was going to speak to striking workers tomorrow instead of going to the debate. No, the reporting has been abysmal on this. Trump is actually going to a non-union shop. Trump to speak Wednesday at a non-union Macomb County automotive parts manufacturer. We're reading from the Michigan Advance here. Former President Donald Trump on Wednesday is set to deliver remarks at Drake Enterprises, an automotive parts manufacturer and supplier in Clinton Township. Former president's visit to the facility will follow President Joe Biden's Tuesday visit to join striking United Auto Workers members on the picket line. So for the first time, the UAW on September 15th declared a strike against all 3 U.S. automakers. The union on Friday expanded the strike from 3 auto plants to 38 GM and Stellantis auto suppliers across the country, excluding Ford suppliers due to progress in the talks. The striking locations are spread across 21 states. Michigan has the most plants on strike in the country with 14. Trump, who announced his trip first, blasted Biden's decision to visit. Biden visited the striking workers. He stood there with the UAW president. Trump blasted Biden's decision to visit the state on a post to his social media platform, claiming the president had no intention of visiting UAW members until Trump made his announcement. I don't think that's true at all. The UAW has not endorsed a candidate in the 2024 presidential election, and it would be wise for them not to endorse Biden until after the strike is over. But UAW President Shawn Fain invited Biden to the picket line and has criticized Trump on multiple occasions. Every fiber of our union is being poured into fighting the billionaire class and an economy that enriches people like Donald Trump at the expense of workers. That's what Fain said ahead of Trump's visit to Michigan. The Guardian had this excellent piece earlier today. Trump stabbed labor over and over. Now he says he supports the striking auto workers. Trump's claim that he always has workers' back is laughable. As president, he undercut them at every opportunity. Because of course he did. Strikes are painful affairs for unions and companies alike, but that hasn't stopped Donald Trump from making plans to go to Detroit next week to try to make political hay, that would be tomorrow, out of the United Auto Workers' historic strike. The former president is planning a primetime speech before 500 workers that will trumpet the message that he has always had their back. As with so many Trump pronouncements, that is appalling poppycock. During Trump's 4 years as president, he and his administration did far more to stab workers in their backs. Trump didn't lift a finger to increase the federal minimum wage, which has been stuck at a pathetically low $7.25 an hour since 2009. And he certainly didn't have workers' backs when he scrapped Barack Obama's move to expand overtime coverage, thereby denying 8 million workers the ability to receive time and a half overtime pay. If Trump is a friend of workers, why did his administration repeatedly do what corporate lobbyists asked for instead of what worker advocates wanted? Trump made it easier for Wall Street to cheat workers by scrapping the fiduciary rule that required investment firms to act in the best interests of workers and retirees in handling their 401ks. Showing little concern about worker safety, Trump moved to relax rules for coal mine inspections and roll back safety requirements for oil rig workers. His administration even reversed the ban on a toxic pesticide, chlorpyrifos, that causes acute reactions in farm workers and neurological damage to children. In a big favor to corporate America, Trump rolled back rules that made it harder to award federal contracts to companies that were repeat violators of wage laws, sexual harassment laws, racial discrimination laws, or laws protecting workers' right to unionize. Then, in a favor to financial firms, Trump repealed regulations that aimed to prevent payday lenders from preying on financially strapped workers. Poppycock? Is that British for sexual anarchy? I don't think it is. I think it's British for bullshit.
You live in sexual anarchy?
We might have to get a ruling from Warlord on that one. Speaking of bullshit, do you want to hear what Hillary Clinton has to say?
Let me start by thanking Secretary Blinken. I am incredibly grateful to you for your leadership, the tremendous job you're doing. If we had been in this room in its former, much gloomier kind of look a couple years ago and talked about an invasion of Ukraine that instead of driving a stake between us and our allies, brought us closer together in order to support the right of the Ukrainian people to defend their liberty and freedom and democracy, people might have doubted that because we had burned so many bridges with our allies and our friends. So reinstating a foreign policy that plays to the best of American values, that puts our interests and security front and center, but does it in a way that actually brings people to us, not pushes them away, would have been thought to be extremely difficult.
Hillary's got a nice mullet.
But it was accomplished. So we built global coalitions to curb nuclear proliferation, to tackle climate change, to promote democracy. We continued to build on our human rights commitments, women's rights, gay rights, the rights of all people to have a chance to live up to their
Bob.
potential. And we have seen the continuation of a lot of the values and priorities that we worked on into the Biden administration. And in looking across the globe, defending democracy in Ukraine, expanding NATO, just as an aside, too bad, Vladimir. You brought it on yourself. And that was such a point of contention. And we always said, people are not forced to join NATO. People choose and want to join NATO. And so, indeed, expanding NATO.
They're not going to show they're not going to show the picture. She was there unveiling her portrait at the State Department.
By thanking Secretary.
We already heard that. No, we went. There we go. There's the portrait. Unveiled at the State Department earlier today. What do you guys think? It looks a lot better than her in real life, doesn't it? It's a really good portrait. I was ready to laugh at it, but it's a pretty good portrait. Oh, apparently Bill was there as well. Bill not looking good. What the fuck is up with, he looks like he has zombie face. Looks like he has been rotting away over the last 10 years or so. She looks like Louis Anderson, real Hillary in front of the portrait looks like Louis Anderson or some shit. That was Hillary's portrait unveiling at the State Department. The former presidential nominee for the Democratic Party lost to Donald Trump in 2016. Take a look at the GOP contenders. They're going to lose to Donald Trump in 2024.
Meanwhile, Republican presidential hopefuls are preparing for their second debate tomorrow night. Former President Trump is opting out once again, but 7 other candidates have met the requirements to qualify. Let's bring in Galen Druk from ABC's 538 in Simi Valley, California for more. Galen, let's start with the lineup here. What do you make of who made the cut and who didn't?
Asa Hutchinson is out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a similar lineup to the first presidential primary debate, except Asa Hutchinson, former governor of Arkansas, is not going to be there. He did not make the cut. So folks that Republican voters...
Tim Scott made the cut.
Like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, they're all going to be on stage. Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, barely made it. There's a higher threshold in terms of polling numbers.
I wish we could have went ahead and got Burgum out of there. He's a non-factor.
Primary is all about winnowing down a big field to a significantly smaller field by the time that voters get to the polls, so that they're not trying to make heads or tails of 15 different candidates.
So what kind of impact has the first debate had on the polls, and what are you watching for in tomorrow's?
Trump expanded his lead.
The first debate did have an impact on the polls. It's important to say in all of this that Donald Trump still leads the pack on average with about 55% support. So that's a tough hill for...
They really need to white balance their camera because he looks very
But
white.
here's what we saw after the first debate. Vivek Ramaswamy had been rising in the polls, and he reached about 10% support nationally on average going into that debate. Since then, his support has leveled off and actually declined. Now he's at about 6%. And you may remember that a lot of the candidates on stage spent that time...
Mike Pence looking better than he was.
We saw that Nikki Haley has increased...
I thought Pence might have won the first debate.
She was lauded for her performance on the debate stage that night. She's increased, doubled her support nationally from about 3% to about 6%. And one more thing, we saw that Donald Trump's support declined a little bit after the debate. He was not on stage, of course, for the first debate either, but since then, his support has gone back up about to where it was. He's not going to be on stage on Wednesday night, so we'll see how that plays out this time.
And now, California is a deep blue state. Why hold the Republican debate there? And what are you hearing from voters?
Yeah, so California is
Shasta County,
blue state, but interestingly enough, it has the most Republican voters of any state in the country, 6 million. And as a result, it has the largest say in who wins the Republican nomination. It gives out 169 delegates
good evening.
Voting on Super Tuesday. So California is a huge prize in this nominating contest. And that's part of the reason to hold the debate here. It's specifically in Simi Valley because this is where the Republican library is behind, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, which is behind me. And so, Ronald Reagan is still a figure that looms large over the Republican Party. In talking to voters, what I heard a lot of was, I don't really know who these other candidates are. Trump is still at the top of people's lists, not only because they like him, but because they may not be familiar with a lot of these other candidates. And so we'll see if on Wednesday night, the candidates who are running against Trump can change that.
All right, Galen Druk in Simi Valley, California, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out.
He looks like a Galen Droop. I have no clue what his name was. Galen Droop. He's very white. Translucent even. Let's talk about one of these 2024 Republican presidential hopefuls. Number 3 in the polls. 4, what was he? Ron DeSantis purposely dismantled a black congressional district. This is according to attorneys, as a trial over congressional maps in Florida is set to begin. On the same day, Alabama black voters, more on that in a second, scored a victory in the U.S. Supreme Court. A federal trial opened in Florida in which lawyers say Republican Governor Ron DeSantis violated the U.S. Constitution by deliberately dismantling a congressional district that favored black candidates. It's one of several lawsuits around the country that are challenging Republican-drawn maps they say are gerrymandered to diminish the ability of black voters to select a candidate of their choice. If successful, the lawsuits could help Democrats as they try to regain control of the House. The focus in Florida is a district that stretched more than 200 miles to connect black voters in Jacksonville and in the majority black county of Gadsden, about 200 miles to the west. DeSantis vetoed maps the legislator drew, which would have preserved a black district, and forced the legislature to approve one his staff drew. The governor pushed and pushed and pushed, said attorney Greg Baker. He pressed his argument by soundbite bullying. That sounds like Meatball Ron. The result was a map that helped Republicans earn a majority in the House and left black voters in North Florida with only white representation in Washington. That area stretches about 360 miles from the Alabama border to the Atlantic Ocean and south from the Georgia border to Orlando in Central Florida. God damn. Common Cause Florida, the Florida branch of the NAACP, and Fair Districts now are suing to have the map thrown out. Ron DeSantis, everybody. As if that's out of character. Republicans are just fucking slimy pieces of shit. I mean, how slimy and underhanded do you have to be to get smacked down by the Republican uber conservative majority on the Supreme Court? The Alabama state legislature just brazen in their corruption.
Breaking now at midday, the Supreme Court is backing a 3-judge panel's ruling and rejecting the state's attempt to defy an earlier order to draw a fair congressional map. And this comes a day after a special master in the case presented 3 new map proposals, including one with major changes in District 2, which would include Montgomery and boost the black voting population up to nearly 50%. The latest ruling means
Venus, good evening.
Can proceed. Now, the state's original map was ruled in violation of the Voting Rights Act by the High Court. State lawmakers came up with a new map over the summer, but the 3 federal judge panel rejected the map. These new maps now go to the panel for final approval. The panel has set a hearing on the proposals for October 3rd. They had directed a special master to come up with these proposed plans. Those on the proposed.
This is an example of what's called packing. You pack all of one type of voter. In this case, black voters is called the black belt in Alabama. Pack them all in one district to where it stops them from being able to have majorities in other districts. So they've packed them all into Congressional District 2 so that they don't swing the vote towards a Democrat in District 1 or District 7. Or maybe even District 6 up here. This is the Birmingham district.
Proposals for October 3rd. They had directed a special
Burgatoris.
These proposed plans. Those new maps now go to the panel for final approval. The panel has set a hearing for those proposals for October 3rd. Lawmakers are now reacting to the proposed maps. In a statement, Alabama State House Minority Leader Anthony Daniels says the plans represent a chance to restore the power of the vote for black Alabamians and all Alabamians. And Congresswoman Terry Sewell says she is looking forward to the adoption of one of these proposals, adding that the new maps prove that the creation of 2 districts where black voters can elect a candidate of their choice was possible from the very beginning.
Of course it was! Of course it was possible from the very beginning. Of course the Republicans were just fucking playing politics, blatantly violating the Civil Rights Act to where even the conservative court, which is hostile to the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, even it fucking... It was too blatant for this Supreme Court. God damn. And we mentioned it earlier when we were talking about they were all over the place on Fox News. Somehow the Washington Post was for Biden, but Bezos is mad at him because of inflation and the pending antitrust violation, which Amazon absolutely deserves. Judge Janine mentioned it. She apparently had a crystal ball because the suit dropped later on that day, today,
Breaking news this hour, the Federal Trade Commission and 17 states are
I struggle with that transition, sorry.
competitive behavior.
Yeah, this highly anticipated lawsuit claims the retail giant has an illegal monopoly over online retail. Joined now by NBC News correspondent Kransky has been tracking the story. So what should we know about this suit? What are these anti-competitive practices that the FTC is accusing Amazon?
So the top line here is that the FTC says Amazon wasn't breaking the law simply by being big. They were breaking the law due to their behavior. Exclusionary conduct are the key words here. We're specifically talking about anti-discounting tactics that they allege, which are basically punishing sellers who offer discounts. They say that has a ripple effect, not just on the Amazon platform, but other places these resellers may sell their product. And then the other big one here is anti-competitive tactics, which punishes sellers who don't ship through Amazon fulfillment centers. Again, all of these things, they say, the FTC accuses Amazon of not just raising prices on their platform for consumers and sellers, but they say the ripple effect, because it's a monopoly, has such a big impact. It's inflating prices for everybody.
Yeah, that is a direct impact on consumers if these allegations are true. What's Amazon saying, Noah?
So we just heard from them in the last few minutes. They did not mince words in a statement. I'm going to read it directly so I don't mess it up. Today's suit makes clear the FTC's focus has radically departed from its mission of protecting consumers and competition. The practices the FTC is challenging have helped to spur competition and innovation across the retail industry and have produced greater selection, lower prices, and faster delivery speeds. Amazon won.
That's poppycock.
Good for both consumers and sellers. It's spurred innovation. Amazon expecting to put up a big fight on this one, and it's not their only suit with the FTC, so a lot of work for a lot of attorneys right now.
In the meantime, does it affect consumers in any way?
Not immediately, but the FTC is seeking immediate action. They didn't say today they want to break up Amazon. They say they want to change the policies to make it more friendly for consumers and better for competition.
Wow. All right, NBC News correspondent Noah Pransky. Noah, thank you so much for that.
Thanks.
Good job, Lester. Listen, I agree that the Biden administration is woefully inadequate, but my God. We've got the FTC throwing antitrust at Amazon. We've got Biden down here with the striking workers. It's at least a fucking step in the right direction. Something I never thought I would see in this late stage capitalist hellscape we live in. So yeah, I'm against Biden, but not like I want him to be president again because I want more of this shit. I want more and more of this shit. So we gotta get Biden elected again so that we can get somebody even more to the left of Biden elected. The decisions that put someone in the presidency are made on the local level 20, 30 years before someone runs for president. Biden is in the position he's in right now because of the work he did back in the 70s and 80s. And the machinations and the deals he made and the coalitions that he put together. So if you want a truly leftist president, you got to get involved locally, and it really does go from the ground up. I've certainly watched Republicans do it. They took, the crazies took over the Republican Party, so I know it can be done. We can take over the Democratic Party. Don't lose any friends over the election in 2024. Encourage Republicans to vote for Joe Biden, because if you can't bring yourself to vote for Joe Biden, cool, totally cool. Encourage any Republican friends that you have to vote for Joe Biden, because Donald Trump's a madman and Joe Biden's just like a milquetoast fucking liberal. Why the fuck? Why wouldn't a conservative be all about Joe Biden? It's the same fucking economic policy, right? Just less tax cuts, less deregulation. So But I want more of what the FTC is doing. I want more of what the National Labor Relations Board is doing. More of that. And the way to get more of that is to take over the party and vote more for Democrats, not less for Democrats. That's like a fundamental misunderstanding that people have. Like, you think you can withhold your vote and it will teach the Democrats a lesson, but instead, like, the Democrats just go for the people that are gonna vote. They're like, okay, well, if you're not gonna vote for us, we're gonna try to appeal to the likely voters. And that has moved politicians to the right during my lifetime, from the 1980s on. I mean, we're starting to see the pendulum swing back the other way. That fucking debate, I see no reason. I said it last night. Me as a political commentator, I'm excited for it because it'll be fun to watch. It'll be good content for the show, but as an American citizen, it's useless. There's no reason for those two motherfuckers to debate, and it's kind of below Gavin Newsom. I think it makes him look unpresidential to be on the stage with such a fucking loser. By November 30th, it's very possible that Ron DeSantis isn't even in the Republican presidential primary anymore. So, I think it hurts Gavin Newsom to be seen on the stage with that motherfucker. But yeah, we'll watch it. We'll totally watch it. You want an awkward smile? I bet there were some awkward smiles when they carted this dead Russian admiral out in front of cameras to prove he's alive. Ukraine had said Admiral Viktor Sokolov died when his headquarters was blown up in a missile strike. They carted this motherfucker out. The commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, reported to have been killed in the destruction of its headquarters in occupied Sevastopol last week, appears to have survived if a video released by the Russian Defense Ministry can be taken at face value. Oh, this is the missile attack. We watched this last night. Supposedly that's the attack that took out the Black Sea Fleet and the Admiral. Russian authorities have been known to doctor video evidence to show dead, injured, or out of favor commanders still going about their business. Equally, however, Ukrainian commanders have previously announced the deaths of Russian military leaders who have turned out to still be alive. Whether Sokolov's career can survive the destruction of the Black Sea Fleet headquarters, given the fleet's almost foundational importance for the projection of Russian military might, is a question for another day. Sokolov's predecessor was fired last year after the loss of the fleet's flagship cruiser. Hold on, why couldn't I get to it? The video of them carting this dude out is here. Hold on. Goddamn. I can't believe we're gonna watch this. Oh, you motherfucker, come on.
Науки и высшего образования занимаются созданием военно-учебных центров.
Oh, so they got him like it's on like a Zoom call, and they got him propped up down here in the bottom corner. You can see him right next to my camera. They just got him propped up there.
Созданием военно-учебных
Maybe it's old video of him being in a Zoom call.
центров прошлом году приступили к работе 16 таких подразделений, что позволило увеличить количество студентов, проходящих военную службу, почти на 2000. В наших планах открыть еще 8 центров. В итоге они будут представлены в 75 регионах нашей страны, а их общая численность достигнет 128.
That's some big dick energy.
Сегодня
They just show the motherfucker up on screen.
Военно-учебных центров, которые имеют важное значение для формирования мобилизационного ресурса вооруженных сил. В Южном военном округе в этом году будет реализовано свыше 170 организационных мероприятий. Войска получат 5500 единиц современного вооружения и техники. Завершится ввод в эксплуатацию более 500 объектов инфраструктуры. Ведется работа по комплектованию соединений.
Okay, he doesn't look alive. Let me. Like, he hasn't blinked the entire time. He doesn't look alive. It's this dude right here. Ukraine says he died in a missile attack on the Black Sea Fleet last week. Russia dropping this video. I guess they're not claiming he's alive. They're just throwing it out there, letting you come to your own conclusions. Take one more look at him.
Инфраструктуры. Ведется работа по комплектованию соединений войск.
He ain't moving. He's stuffed. He's taxidermied.
Науки и высшего образования занимаются созданием военно-учебных центров. В прошлом году приступили к работе 16 таких подразделений, что позволило...
I didn't see him move. I didn't see him blink. They taxidermied that motherfucker and brought him out there. Holy shit. Oh, goddamn. I love doing the news. It's just the wildest fucking shit happening all over the place. Venus, that's not a bad idea that he might be actually laying in a hospital bed or even a morgue. Biggest screen was on pause. Okay, I am spreading conspiracies. I'm gonna spread a conspiracy on you right now. This motherfucker, who is now the former Speaker of the Canadian House, he is a pilgrim drag queen. This motherfucker right here is some kind of pilgrim drag queen. What the fuck is that outfit? The House Speaker is now resigned over inviting a man who fought for a Nazi unit, to get a standing ovation in front of the Canadian Parliament. Pilgrim drag queen.
Here in the chamber today, Ukrainian Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today.
Warlord, that's what I said. Drag queen pilgrim. I don't know what you want from me.
At his age of 98.
The work of this House is above any of us. Therefore, I must step down as your Speaker.
Well, good riddance.
I reiterate my profound regret for my error in recognizing an individual in the House during the joint address to Parliament of President Zelensky. That public recognition has caused pain to individuals and communities, including the Jewish community in Canada and around the world, in addition to survivors of Nazi atrocities in Poland, among other nations. I accept full responsibility for my actions.
So that is the Speaker of the House of Canada stepped down took full responsibility for his actions. Poland seeks extradition of Ukrainian SS veteran who was applauded in Canada. Applause for the 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka was deeply embarrassing for Canada, says Justin Trudeau, the PM. Poland's education minister, Przemysław Kaznek, said on Tuesday that he has taken steps toward extraditing Yaroslav Hunka, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Nazi veteran who was honored by Canadian parliamentarians last week. This was during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Canada last Friday. Former House Speaker now, Anthony Rota, introduced Hunka as a Canadian-Ukrainian war hero, prompting a standing ovation from parliamentarians. Fought on the wrong side in World War II, but the tribute triggered a wave of criticism from Jewish organizations, advocacy groups, and leaders across the world because Hunka fought with the 1st Ukrainian Division, also known as the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division, which served under the command of the Nazis in Adolf Hitler's World War II fight against the Russian Red Army. In view of these scandalous events in the Canadian Parliament, which involved honoring in the presence of President Zelensky, member of the criminal Nazi SS Galician formation, I have taken the steps toward the possible extradition of this man to Poland. Ha ha! Do it. I'm all for it. I really wanted to like the immigration minister in the UK, but she's apparently a real bigot. UK's immigration minister, Suella Braverman, says being gay or a woman is not enough reason to seek asylum in the UK.
You raised a number of important and complicated questions, and I think maybe the one that's likely to be most...
Nor does it mean you're anti-immigration. I am the child of immigrants. And it's no betrayal of my... I think most members of the public would recognise those fleeing a real risk of death, torture, oppression or violence as being...
I believe there are plenty of people who are gay and women who face a real possibility of threat or of torture or violence.
In need of protection. However, as case law has developed, what we have seen in practice is an interpretive shift away from persecution in favour of something more akin to a definition of discrimination. Let me be clear, there are vast swathes of the world where it is extremely difficult to be gay or to be a woman. Where individuals are being persecuted, it is right that we offer sanctuary. But we will not be able to sustain an asylum system if...
That's the send them back to Africa chick.
...or a woman, or fearful of discrimination in your country of origin, is sufficient to qualify for protection.
The question of national sovereignty on the one hand, and the actual specific content and substance of the treaty commitments. You may know the United States was not an original signatory of the UN Convention.
Like, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but she had to step down over some controversy when the whole, God, what was her name? It was the prime minister for for about as long as a head of lettuce can survive. Oh God, I can't remember her name now. Lettuce lady, indeed. That's all I remember. Suella Braverman had to step down. Liz Truss. Goddamn, yes. She was so forgettable. That's how I forgot her name. Braverman had to step down when Rishi Sunak became prime minister. He brought her back on. Those damn fucking conservatives over there. Fuck your Tories. All right, if you don't like the crime stuff, you want to come back for the bullshit, like make Hollywood manly again, and Russell Brand needs more money. Give us. I think Taylor Shabusiness is going to take us a little bit, so give us like 25 minutes. You can come back for some bullshit, maybe 20 minutes. We're gonna get a few heavy stories out of the way. And yes, we update on my gal, Taylor Shabusiness sentencing earlier today. Purgatorus, you haven't been here for the Taylor Shabusiness. She is a gal in Wisconsin who was caught literally red-handed, had blood dripping from her hands. She had a meth party with a guy that she was apparently like teasing. She ended up like dismembering the dude and cuddling with his torso. The most red-handed one could be caught. She apparently fucked herself with his dismembered penis. His mom found his head in a bucket. Like I have been all up in this fucking story. We watched the body cam of the cops coming into the house and discovering everything. One truss equals 4 Scaramucci's. Oh my God. Exactly, John. Exactly. And her name was Shabusiness. Okay, so here's the thing. The way I found this, I didn't hear about the crime originally. Yeah, I'm also kind of turned on by her. She's not gonna look too attractive when you see her here because they got like the spit hood on her and shit. Cause she crazy. So I found out about her because she attacked her attorney in court, but I don't watch anything beforehand, so I didn't actually know what she had been charged with. So we watched the video of her attacking her attorney. We find out she's been charged with murder, and we dig deeper into the story, and just like the further and further. First of all, I'm tripped out by the fact that her name is Taylor Shabusiness. That's her legal name. But like once I get past the name, like going down through all the shit that happened with this woman and all the different crimes she did. Yeah, I might have pictures of her saved on my computer. This is pre-jail suit Taylor Shabusiness. She was sentenced today. She was sentenced today on her charges. Looking a little more homely. We're going to hear from the victim's uncle. I hear from the victim's uncle, but that's more towards the bullshit side of the. That's more towards the bullshit side of the stream. I saved the dismemberment for the bullshit part of this. God damn, I'm horrible. Okay, so we've been following this story. The bloody picture, We watch the body cam when she gets caught. She totally has red hands. I might write love letters to her. That would actually be really good content. I should do that. Can I get a conjugal visit with her? You might already have a bunch of fans. So we've been following this story. A inmate in Fulton County in Georgia died in custody mysteriously, and the family has questions about the cops in the case, because of course they do. They have had an independent autopsy conducted. They gave a press conference earlier today to detail the results of that autopsy.
County Jail is demanding to meet with the sheriff, and the family released findings in the medical examiner's report. Channel 2's Audrey Washington live at the Fulton County Jail in Northwest Atlanta. Audrey, the family wants an independent review.
Right, Linda, but first they need the medical records in the case. That's also what they're pushing for. Now, 40-year-old Monte Stinson, they told me, died here inside the Fulton County Jail just days before he was set to be released.
Sheriff, my brother's blood is on your hands.
That's right.
It's on your hands, sir.
Strong words aimed towards Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labatt following the release of the medical examiner's report in the Monte Stinson case.
Monte Stinson and what happened to him is tragic, it is unfortunate, and it is something that could have been avoided.
Stinson died here inside the Fulton County Jail on July 31st after his family says he complained of extreme chest and stomach pain.
It's hard for me to bury my brother.
Tuesday, the family's attorney, Kenneth Muhammad, released the medical examiner's report. He says the ME determines Stinson suffered from hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and, quote, minor blunt force trauma to his head. Muhammad says the report noted that a cellmate found Stinson unresponsive, but that the investigative material in the sheriff's report did not mention a cellmate, only that several other inmates banged on the walls to notify the deputies about Stinson's condition.
So the absence of the information in that regard is something that we believe is suspicious.
Stinson was one of 10 inmates to die at the jail just this year alone. The DOJ has opened an investigation into the conditions.
That's more than one a month.
I'm upset and mad and angry that individuals are in jail, and yet jail here in Fulton County seems to be some type of death wish.
The family is now demanding Stinson's medical records for an independent case review. They also want a meeting with the Fulton County Sheriff.
My family and I want justice for my brother.
And I reached out to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. A spokesperson told me that
Venus, do not show minors your ass. Just rule of thumb, don't do that. I think that's what Lauren Boebert's husband did. Yeah, unless you want to attract a Lauren Boebert, don't do that.
the death investigation into the Stinson case is still open and active. That spokesperson also told me that she is in the works for organizing and arranging a meeting between the sheriff and those family members. And we are live here right outside of the Fulton County Jail in Northwest Atlanta. Audrey Washington, Channel 2 Action News.
How and why did her car end up in the river?
That's a mystery for another day. We're not going to find that one out. Unless it has something to do with the husband that ran away from the daycare where a child died, 4 were injured when they got a hold of some fentanyl. They were doing a drug running operation out of a daycare in what it was in the Bronx, or it was your car, or it was in Queens. Oh, I've never been to New York. I get the boroughs confused.
We begin this afternoon with
That's not Dave Navarro. What the fuck?
We begin this afternoon with breaking news. A week-long manhunt is over
Police say they have arrested the husband of a Bronx daycare owner on the run. The suspect caught after fentanyl hidden in the daycare left a 1-year-old dead and other children sick.
Yeah, law enforcement sources tell ABC News that he was taken into custody by the DEA in Mexico. Eyewitness News reporter Joe Torres is in the newsroom.
In Mexico.
Liz and David, it was a days-long mystery. Where was the husband of that daycare owner captured on camera, leaving with several bags just moments before police arrived? Well, this afternoon, we got an answer. Nearly 3,000 miles southwest of New York City on a bus.
New York City.
A week and a half ago, Felix Herrera Garcia went on the run. At that daycare in the Bronx, 1 child died. 3 others were sent to the hospital from what investigators determined was fentanyl exposure. Police say Garcia ran a drug operation out of the daycare. They found a kilo of fentanyl stored near mats children use for sleeping. They arrested Garcia's wife, the daycare operator, and Gray Mendez and Garcia's cousin. Police determined Garcia's first phone call when they found the children unresponsive wasn't to police or even 911. It was to her husband, who quickly arrived and was seen on camera leaving the daycare with several shopping bags. Just days later, a search uncovered a trap door right below where the children slept, with even more fentanyl and drug paraphernalia. But late this afternoon, the DEA arrested Garcia, effectively ending the manhunt. And what we don't know at the moment is how police tracked Garcia down in Mexico. But for the moment, he is now, David and Liz, off the streets.
We've followed several manhunts over the last couple of months. Manhunts. I've been on the woman hunt. I've been on the woman hunt for a woman likes your business. The uncle of the victim whom Taylor Shabusiness dismembered testified during her sentencing earlier today. Came up with a Trump-like nickname for her.
I know, Mr. Saunders, you had indicated there was something regarding the victim impact statement you wanted to do. Was it going to be read in, or how did you want to handle that?
I believe now 2 family members of the victim wish to orally address the court judge.
Okay.
I think just orally is a victim impact statement. So.
Very good. And if they want to come up and stand, there's a microphone right above. If you want to stand right between those 2 pillars there, they can stand right there.
Wearing a bobbit that chopped off the dude's dick.
And if you could just tell me your...
She didn't fuck herself with it, I don't believe.
Chad's uncle. I basically just wanted to say that there's no excuse for what you've done. I don't care if it's drugs or upbringing, you know. We all go through hard times growing up, at least the majority of us have. You have the opportunity to change that. You have the opportunity to, you know, see that you have a problem. There's, you know, I've been in recovery a little over 3 years. In AA, I drank for 41 years. I realized I had a problem. So there's just, basically to me...
Now, I do want to point out that Taylor Shabusiness's father is in jail. Taylor Shabusiness's husband is in jail. This is quite the family. This is quite the story.
Easy way out. It's you did the most cowardly, weakest things that you could do possible. You know, you meet a person in school, you say he's your friend, you become friends.
The husband was drug trafficking.
Boyfriend, lovers.
Methamphetamine.
An innocent person that's very kind, would do anything for you. And I believe you used that and you had this plan and took your opportunity when you did. There's no excuse, you know, I don't see it no other way. To take advantage of someone's kindness like that.
I don't remember what her dad was in for.
That's like the most irritating thing for me. You know, you get to know somebody, they trust you, and then you do that. You say, and then you say that you're a friend, you're his friend. You said that in the statements. It's like, man. But you know, I walked into a program and it's free. You know, you can go get help and it's free. All over the place there's help. And it doesn't cost a dime, you know. It's either, and the first thing they tell you in there, you know, you want to continue doing what you're doing. It's going to be jail, institution, or death. And you chose that path, and you chose the wrong path. They sit here talking about being rehabilitated.
Oh God, it says her dad is locked up for a child sex crime. Found guilty of second-degree sexual assault of a child. Damn. Fuck.
Is Shad's mother gonna ever rehabilitate from this? No, but you can go to an institution, you can go to prison and try to be rehabilitated, but I don't see no reason why you'd have parole after the doctor had just mentioned once you have so much damage that it's irreversible. You know, so why would don't make no sense to me even to have the option of parole to come back and to gain someone's trust like that again. You know, because that is like the lowest thing a person can do. You know what I mean? I just don't understand that. And the biggest thing is, you know, it, like I said, you know, the help is free and it's there. You chose not to take, you know, I'm sure you knew you had a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Business, this is your opportunity to address me. If there's
I was bored.
anything you'd like to say before
It wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Taylor,
Very good. Well then,
not saying anything in her own defense.
Sentence on cases like this, the court has to consider the factors set forth in State versus Galleon. So I have to consider the gravity of the offense, the character of the defendant, the need to protect the public, as well as other aggravating and mitigating circumstances, including rehabilitative needs and punishment and deterrence, and then craft a sentence in each case that's appropriate. In this case, when I consider the defendant's character, I can say that over the course of this case, I've learned a great deal about you, Miss Business. First of all, you were born in Chicago, lived there until you were about age 10, or 12 rather. You seem to have had a stable childhood. You were loved by your mother and your father and your brother. And unfortunately, your mother passed away when you were 12, your brother passed away in a vehicle accident, and your dad's incarcerated. But I'm confident that all three of them probably still love you very much. Her father's employment was transferred to Green Bay when she was
Hey,
about
love
12 years
nobody.
old, and hence began the contact Ms. Business had with this community. She attended Bayport High School. At about 16, she moved to Texas to live with her grandfather. She graduated from high school in Cotulla, Texas, and eventually came back to Green Bay because she missed her father and her brother, which again doesn't surprise me any because, as I've indicated, I think they both love her very much. She's worked in this community. I read over the pre-sentence investigation.
She worked at an Apple store for like 3 years.
And that outlines some work experience that she has, and I think that's a favorable character trait because, quite frankly, not everyone that lives in this community does work. And I think it indicates someone who wants to get out and support themselves and not make anybody.
Yeah, I learned all the facts of this case.
But that reflects on character. She has a limited court record. Certainly we have pretty much the entire extent of her criminal record in front of us here today. But it's a limited record that reflects on character. She's got a family who cares about her. And although sometimes I think people take that for granted, if you sit in this courtroom long enough, you'll realize that you should never take your family for granted because so many people come in sitting in that chair in an orange jumpsuit and have absolutely no one who will come in and say, I'm with her. And that takes a little bit of
Yeah, her father was very compassionate.
to come in and do that. And frankly, today she's got
Didn't know he was a child diddler at the time, I don't believe.
that for her because her direct family are unable to do that for various reasons. And so I think that speaks to Ms. Shabusiness's character.
That is a spit hood.
Who find value and worth in her.
And she very well could have spit on them.
So I think that reflects on character. I'm cognizant of the fact that she began using drugs at a very young age.
I'm sad we're not seeing her because she looks to be laughing right now.
Methamphetamine at around 18 as well. And we've heard a lot of testimony about drug usage. I don't have any doubt that that has an impact on how people conduct their lives and behave from moment to moment.
Because she did laugh during the testimony.
As far as this incident and
pretty
these
much of the
events,
trial.
I think I've spoken to this already in prior hearings, but the fact of the matter is, when I watched the interview with law enforcement shortly after these events, I observed someone who was lucid, understanding what was going on, was tracking what was being asked of her, her answers were tracking. Everything seemed to be together at that moment.
Some people pay for it.
The influence of drugs now. It doesn't mean
I might.
I didn't see it in that interview, which is the most closely the most close proximity to the events of this night that we have. Is that interview.
I don't think she seems lucid.
She seemed to be very lucid in what she was doing. But I don't doubt that there's a long history of drug use, serious drug use.
They asked her what happened, and she said, well, that's a very good question, isn't it? As she had blood dripping from her hands.
Methamphetamine is a plague in this community, and it seeped into this case as well. And it's something that we have to constantly
seeped in.
It's not a battle that the system wins often, but we're making some headway, and every little step we take is perhaps one life that can be saved as a result of that drug coming into this community. But it's a big problem, and it is in this.
I'm gonna give her a hug.
I've heard about Ms. Shabusiness's mental health history. I've read stacks and stacks of mental health records that have come in as recently as a few days ago. And I read them over, which allowed me to learn.
Public defender tried to get an insanity.
Who she is as a person. I've heard about her son who lives in Texas.
Plea did not work.
I'm absolutely convinced that she loves her son. And I'm going to say more
son
about
lives
that.
with the grandparents.
That's a piece of who she is because she's a mom. And I think that is a title that is a precious title, and it's an important title. I'm also convinced that a person comes into this court with their life up
And it's sad that somebody's mom is sitting there like that.
demonstration of their character. What kind of a person are they? What do they bring to the table as a member of the human community? Not just this community, but as a community, the human community as a whole.
Her kid is going to be able to get on the internet and watch this.
Speak well of that. I was a little bit put off by a statement that I read in the pre-sentence investigation report, frankly, from her father. He said on page 17 of that report, I feel like the system could have helped Taylor and kind of failed her as well. And I reflected on that because it's difficult to understand who people refer to when they say the system fails people. Because you know what? It's not the job of the system to raise people's children. The system tries to do that. The system is not perfect. Like our fight against methamphetamine is not perfect, but we carry the fight on. People in our community get into the system, be that the court system or the system dealing with child protection. Really, I think what they're referring to, I don't know, but it seems to be the government. The government needs to come in and do more to take care of people who have gone astray. And I'm not sure that that's the case. Nonetheless, attempts are made. Attempts are being made in this courthouse every day. And to suggest that somehow it's the system that failed.
What kind of fucking
surprises me a little bit when people come into court.
soapbox this motherfucker up on?
Orange jumpsuit and chains to suggest that it's the system that's failed my daughter. There's a certain irony in that. There really is. And it disturbed me when I read that piece. I'm not so sure it's really relevant to what should happen to Miss Business, but it was relevant to what I heard from this witness here today, because I think the system does the best it can. It's imperfect, and it has very much to do with the amount of resources that the public wants to put into the system, and those resources are finite. But as I say, in this building, the system is doing everything it can to fight.
That has nothing to do with this woman fucking herself with a dude's dismembered dick.
To try to help push back the plague of drug use that's occurred and that we've heard so much about in this case. So
her eyes do get wide whenever they mention drugs. I like drugs too, ma'am.
Business's father.
I love to do drugs with you. Well, I don't know.
Coming in here to talk about his daughter, who's also going through the system, and I couldn't help but think of everything I heard about Mr. Business's son, because it seems to be a cycle. It seems to be just a circle. It's coming around again, so that if he ever finds himself in the situation that his mother finds himself in, where she's the only one he's got left to come in and speak for him. Again, I guess it's the system that's done something, but it all starts, frankly, at somebody's home and what they have to offer.
Yeah, do you want me to just tell you what happens?
And so, anyways, I reflect on that, but I'm also convinced that no
He's
one
really not getting to the point, is he?
For where they come from, but you are responsible for where you're going. So there's a lot of tragedy that.
Where did you come from? Where did you go?
There really is. I've already reflected on some of that, and it almost seems as if you could apply the phrase "she never had a chance" to Miss Business.
Well, this is the least attractive she has looked, I assure you.
But as I said, you're not responsible for where you come from.
They tried to make her look awfully homely.
Choices you make about where you're
during the trial.
And Mr. Business has got to be held responsible for that. And this is the ending of a process that is doing just that. At the same time, I'm absolutely.
This judge is cute. I'd bend him over the bench.
Irrespective of the sentence.
Quentin Tarantino looking motherfucker.
Which, in light of these charges, is going to be a life sentence. Every human being has the ability to move forward and find meaning in their life, and Mr. Business has that opportunity.
Guess I was talking
just
over
like
it.
Anybody else in this court.
Life
He
sentence.
has the ability to do that.
No parole.
And I certainly hope that for her. But all of those things I reflect on when I consider the character of this defendant. Next, I move on to the gravity of the offense. And I sit in this chair often, and I address situations where people have been have lost their lives.
Pretty heavy event, I will tell you that.
Terribly, and I always indicate that really the offense in this case can't be overstated, and that seems very appropriate to say that in most.
You should give me them eyes.
When there's been such a death.
Keeps looking over here at me.
In this case, it seems different. In this case, you seem to run out of superlatives when describing what happened in this case. You really do. The list of superlatives don't seem to measure up to what you see. And what
I broke out the thesaurus and ran out.
We heard about in the trial. This crime offends human decency. It offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does.
This is exactly why we have ran it into the ground here on the Troll Patrol.
It really is. It's tragic for family and friends and community. When life is taken by from a person in the fashion that it was in this case, where the victim's remains are cut up and packaged in containers, it's difficult to identify a human nature in those activities.
He had them in different places, too.
It's very troubling. It's difficult to recognize the general belonging that most people have for their community. It's difficult to recognize community in anything that happened in this case.
Cuddled with the torso.
This is a small community that we live in, where the web of relationships almost encompass everyone who lives here, such that people look out for each other and
people gossip's what he's saying.
Care when something bad happens to one of our members, and in a broader sense, The community we exist in is the human community, as I've reflected on, and these actions are foreign to all of that community.
Motherfucker, I know what goes on in Wisconsin.
To adequately express in words, they really do.
Weird shit happens up there.
And that's the gravity of this.
You can't tell me you're a judge.
There aren't superlatives for it. There aren't really words for it.
It's ineffable.
You can get a sense of it and a feel for it, but there's no really way.
Gobsmacked.
This offense. So the need to protect the public is an important factor the court needs to struggle with as well. And in light of what I've just
no, totally effable.
There is a need to protect the public in this case. As I said, this behavior
INEFFable
is to be unpredictable.
I don't even know how to fucking spell it. I don't know.
And in a place where this kind of an offense,
totally affable,
kind of a crime is possible, with no advanced warning signs, and absolutely anything's possible then. Where this kind of thing is possible, absolutely anything is possible.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Thank you.
Needs protection. They really do.
That was 3 jokes ago.
I've outlined, what I think are aggravating circumstances in this case. There are mitigating circumstances, as I've said. There's
the Ed Gein was from Wisconsin. See,
her upbringing and what brought her here, the struggles she's had with some mental health issues, and struggling perhaps in the context of those issues.
Weird shit happens in Wisconsin.
Always as present as they could have been.
Life sentence, no parole. Can't take it anymore. He was really not getting to the point. I cut it off at 20 minutes. I told everybody 20 minutes. 20 minutes, what we get. Now I gotta do this. Did you guys ever watch Hercules? Can I even make it for what the fuck? Hercules is mad because Hollywood isn't manly enough for him. Nope. The live action show that was on it was on Sci-Fi Channel for me, I do believe. I didn't see it during its original run. Old Herc is mad.
Well, it's this this whole attack on toxic masculinity and things like that. I look at what a lot of things have been coming out lately in the movies and television, where they constantly just make men kind of wimps, and they're making you women the superstars and superheroes, and I'm fine with that. But the whole attack, to me...
No, you're not fine with that. I can already tell. Strong women emasculate you. That's already the issue. I can tell.
To me, it goes back to even sitcoms. You look at sitcoms over the last 30 years, the husband's always kind of fat and dumpy, the mom's kind of hot, and then they got the teenage kids, and all they do is belittle a father. It's this whole attack on father, this whole attack on a man being a man. Peter Weir.
Buddy, that's because King of Queens or Raymond, they're the comedians. Kevin James is a comedian, so everybody around him is he playing straight to his comedy. That's Tim Allen on Home Improvement. They're playing straight to his comedy. That's how that works.
A director from Australia, this is about 15 years ago, maybe even longer. I got asked to comment on a documentary that he shot where he said there are no real men left in America. And I went, wow. And he started pointing out all these things, because the Australian men are these tough men, down under. And I had something to say about that, but there is a lot of truth to what he said. I mean, we have been constantly telling men that, the white privilege, male white privilege and all this stuff. Interesting enough, I saw a video of this woman. She was maybe half Japanese, half something else. So I thought it was kind of good. It wasn't a white woman.
You look fragile, sir.
Asking women of all races and colors, what do you think about, white privilege, white man privilege? And they went on, it exists and this, and she asked every one of them. So what right are you denied as a person that only go to white men?
I was in a bar one time, playing pool, and this woman was telling me about how like white men were the most oppressed. This was a long time ago, dude. This was like 2015. This would have been like Trump starting to run for office, that kind of time frame. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about, woman?
And they couldn't name one. They went, well, I can't think of anything right now. I'm going, then why are you making statements like this? And I'm finding that's true with a lot of things, with these phrases that a lot of younger people under the age of 35 are throwing out, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, all these things. And you ask them about it, to sit there and explain, give us your examples of that, and they can't come up with it. And to me, it's just that they've been trained to say these phrases just as an attack mode and to appear like they know.
Well, you let me know. You let me know what you said before somebody called you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe, and that's your answer. You like, I don't know what the fuck it is that you got into an argument with somebody about. This is anecdotal.
It's I don't know. The hypocrisy is so gone crazy right now.
Yes.
What talking about with manhood is this divide we're trying to keep doing, and we're doing it successfully, unfortunately, through the media, through television. Walt Disney said back in the 50s, movies and television will influence our youth. Well, he was certainly right, and they can influence positively or negative. I mean, look at the internet. The internet's the Wild West, as far as I'm concerned. There are great things.
No, it's not.
About it as well, and in this book,
it used to be.
Really, to be read to children, boys and girls, young age, and say, look, there's a difference between man and the boys and girls. There's a difference between male and female. And, you know, they both have their part in the world, and they both have things they can do that better than the other one. But I think to sit there and take away the masculinity from men, the men that are supposed to be the providers, the hunters, and I'm not saying women shouldn't be, because my wife certainly throws in more than her 2 cents.
Who is telling you?
My goodness, why this is such an attack and such to break apart the family unit, which they've been doing for a long time now. And I think this book, hopefully, when they're read to kids, will make them, I don't know. I hope there's a lot of positiveness coming out of it. I love what Brave Books is doing. They're doing great stuff.
Who is stopping you from having a family? Who is stopping you from being a manly man and listening to Joe Rogan or whatever the fuck you want to do? I don't get it. What are you complaining about? Wants to make Hollywood masculine again. Apparently they're upset about Timothy Chalamet. Is that who this is? This is... Oh God. Oh God. No, not again. Timothy Chalamet? My question is this is Timothy Chalamet attends Bones and All red carpet at the 79th Venice International Film Festival. Looks fucking fabulous. Check you out, dude. Almost as fuckable as Taylor Schabusiness. But if his complaint is that Hollywood needs to be manly again, my retort back to that would be, when the fuck was Hollywood manly? You guys are playing dress up and you put on your makeup and you go play pretend all day. No, like fucking, I've worked in media all my life. I fucking love making small films and shit. No, there's no looking down upon people that make creative endeavors. I fucking love it. I would probably be doing it if I could. But like, you're playing dress up and pretend all day and shit. Like, seriously. All the best actors are gay as fuck. I just think like Kevin Sorbo doesn't fit in with the Hollywood types, because Hollywood's really fucking gay. So, like, I'm sorry, like, that's what it comes down to. He's not in their club. He's not in their club. By the way, the Writers Guild strike ends tomorrow. They have come to terms. The strike ends tomorrow. Writers can get back to work. I would expect that they make a deal with the actors not long after. Someone who that won't apply to, though, is Russell Brand, because ain't nobody asking him to act in anything anymore. Russell Brand pleads with fans to support him financially. Russell Brand needs money. Oh, can we not have the clip? Russell Brand needs money. I tried. Hold on. Make it happen. I'll make it happen. Third time's a charm. Russell Brand needs money.
If you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, eventually you're going to have to click the link in the description and join us over in Rumble. And if you can become a supporter, it's the only way that you can back our independent voice at a time where it's obviously being challenged. We've got a great show for you today.
The comedian's appeal for subscribers on Rumble came in a live stream just hours after the Metropolitan Police said it had opened an investigation into a number of allegations of sexual offenses it had received against Brand in London, as well as elsewhere in the country. Brand addressed his fans on Monday. Apparently there's a Channel 4 documentary. I didn't know that. Listen, like, motherfucker is bound to have made millions in his life. He had a string of very successful movies in the late 2000s. If I had made $1 million in my life, you'd never see me asking for fucking money, begging for anything. Holy shit. What the fuck is wrong with you, fucking grifter indeed? How do you waste that kind of money? Like, what the fuck? I mean, I guess if you've got a drug problem and a sex addict thing going on, yeah, you've got some expensive fucking habits. Here's Puppy Bus.
All aboard the Puppy Bus.
Good morning, puppy.
One by one, they pile in and take their assigned seats. No pushing and shoving here.
Good morning, Max. Good morning, Odin.
Odin.
Senior dogs up front. The more rambunctious ones, like this rascal, in the back. Then the safety instructions.
Tails out of the aisles. Paws to your side.
Everybody loves Puppy Bus.
Buckle up. If only humans could be this well behaved. So where are these polite pups going? They were just picked up by Mo Mountain Mutt's daycare in Alaska. Now the Puppy Bus is going viral with more than 52 million views on TikTok.
I have like 1 million of those views.
Is clearly breaking the internet.
When it comes to cute, it's hard to beat this.
I got like 1 million of those on their account.
Good morning, puppy.
One by one, they pile in and take their
We've watched Puppy Bus so many times on this stream.
Good morning, Max.
Yeah, don't forget tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is the GOP presidential primary debate. Number two. Snicks, good evening. 9 p.m. is when the fun starts. We're going to start at 8 p.m. like usual. Get some news for a little bit. Then the GOP presidential primary debate on YouTube and Kick. DJ Dub, good evening.
In Alaska. Now the puppy bus is going viral.
Gorilla driving a golf cart was fucking awesome too. We've watched some awesome animal videos.
Is clearly
Hey Amaru. Love these babies.
One by one, they pile in and
go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow night. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Like this rascal.